very tired tonight, and I had a special guest coming on, and I canceled it because I have something I have to say. Something happened today that upset me very, very much, and I might have reacted too harshly, but I reacted. I can't help it. It's very tough when you lived your whole life and did whatever you had to do to be yourself, to be your own boss. You took the lumps, you learned, you paid your dues, paid attention. And that's what I did my whole life. I went from racing cars at a very young age to racing horses. And the only reason for that was I was 16 years old. Racing cars was getting expensive. Whenever they broke down, you had to find the money to fix them. And one day, a horse van pulled in a gas station, and I was introduced to horse racing. And I went out to the farm. It was harness racing. And I went out to the farm. And like I said a couple of times, I loved the racing game. I loved the challenge. I love competition. But what got me with horse racing is I realized you can fall in love with a horse. You can fall in love with horses as well as racing, where you can't fall in love with a fender or a bumper. And it got me. The whole thing got me. So that's what I did my whole life. And there's many trainers that listen to this thing. This is the 101st show I'm doing, all about horse racing. And there's many trainers out there, hundreds of them, that if I was saying anything wrong, or if I was saying something that I didn't do, or if I wasn't talking about with authority about training, conditioning, lameness, treatment, I would have got called out a long time ago. In fact, the opposite. I'm getting Hall of Famers now calling me up, telling me all good stuff, and they're going to come on here. Well, let me tell you what happened maybe a month or two ago. Basically retired, waiting for my TV series that's being written right now to come. That was delayed, as you all know, because of COVID, and then the writer's strike, then the actor's strike. But we're right on track now. So while I was sitting around waiting for that, I got a call from a fella who was watching the podcast. And he said to me, he says, I'd like to have dinner with you and talk to you about what you talk about your podcast, training, conditioning of horses. And he said that he owned maybe 8 or 10 racehorses himself. He trained them himself. And he was at one of the New York tracks. And he said that I guess he liked what I read, what I said. He read my website. He saw that. And he just said that he's looking to get back into the game. He got out of it because of COVID. And he said he's looking to get back into the game, and he wants to make fewer mistakes. And I can understand all of that. And he says, well, why don't you come over to the house and we'll have breakfast. And if we keep talking, we'll have lunch, and then we'll have dinner. And he did. And who shows up but a really nice guy? Really nice guy. And he told me of his experience in the racehorse business. And he said that he won a couple of $1 million with the 8 or 10 horses that he had in the first year he was in the business. Thoroughbred business. So I said to him, and I asked him to listen to this today, because you'll understand later on. So what I'm saying, I'm sure he's listening to it. So after he told me of his success, I said to him, I says, "Well, what are you doing here? What do you need me for? If you were 1 year in the business, not knowing nothing, learning as you went along, claimed bought 7 or 8 horses, win over $2 million your first year, you don't need me. You're doing fine. Plus, from what I know in the horse business, being in both divisions of racing for more than 60 years, and I mean 20 hours a day. I don't mean at 12 o'clock I went and played golf. I don't mean I went to the beach. In every veterinarian, after my work was done, from the late 50s until just recently, after my work was done, I stayed with the veterinarians, from Dr. Brennan and Dr. Carter to Dr. Steele to Dr. Nolan to Dr. Zarelli to Dr. DeLeo to Dr. Balmer, to all of them. That's where I stayed until nighttime when they got done with their Lasix, both standardbreds and thoroughbreds. It got to the point early on where I knew the whole anatomy of a horse. We used to go to universities. I used to go to all. I just loved it. And this fella was interested in learning, and he was a really nice guy. And I says that I would help him. He wanted to get back into the business, and he came over the house. And the first thing I says, well, we're going to start from the feet first. And that's where, probably in my opinion, probably 70, 80, 90% of the problems start. Every problem after that, in my opinion, becomes a secondary problem to the primary problem, which nobody usually recognizes. But I don't want to get into too much detail with anything, because we'll be here all night. It's bad enough I'm having trouble trying to get out what I want to say. But he came with a book and a pen, wrote everything down, asked all the right questions. And one of the things he kept saying, he said it 4 or 5 times, I'm a prevention guy. And I answered him once, and after the second, third, and fourth, and fifth time he said it, I didn't respond anymore. How many times are you going to say the same thing? I heard it. I'm not deaf. And so we continued, and we went through the whole anatomy of the foot, and the problem that mostly thoroughbreds have with keeping shoes on, not getting quit, and the reason why they have shorter, thinner nails in the standardbreds, and the wall is too thin, and on and on and on. We went through that whole thing, and it was and he retained everything. Very, very smart guy. And he retained everything, and he came back every Thursday after that, and we talked and we talked and we talked, and he was writing things down, and he was writing and learning and asking a lot of the right questions, and he kept saying that he's a preventative guy, and after a while, I kind of let him know that the only way I'm going to get back into the business, because he asked me for help, and he made me a great offer. Like I said, he's really a good guy, and the problem I had, and I told him that today, was that we're very similar. We both have hard heads, and we're both very opinionated. But what I also told him, that we're very opinionated, except that I'm right and you're wrong. And because he said today that every time I say white, you say black, meaning me, I say black. And the reason I say black is because black is the right answer. I see. I'm jumping ahead because I'm really my stomach now is in a fucking knot because I just I have trouble handling this. When I dedicated my whole life to something, and many people, in fact, two people, one person told him in person, somebody that knows me 50 years, what I forgot, he will never learn, and I believe that's true. But yet, he's smart enough to know, and it reminded me of years ago in harness racing when they come up. The United States Training Association came out with a book called "The Care and Training of Standardbred Racehorses," or the Trotter and Pacer, or something like that. It was a big, thick green book, and all the top trainers wrote a piece in it, from the veterinarians to the top trainers. They all wrote a chapter in it. And all of a sudden, owners were coming to the barn telling you how to train their horse. And I guess I just couldn't handle it. Like, why don't you go back to doing your bookkeeping or whatever you do, and just leave that. If you're not happy with what I'm doing, just go someplace else. But that's what this guy reminded me, and I never forgot that. I never forgot the way, as soon as the owners start learning a little bit of knowledge, either from being in the game or talking with other people or reading the book, they come back to you, and because they're smart and because they could jump ahead and kind of put things together, they start dictating, not dictating, but like this one particular guy that I'm talking about now, he asks questions that are really meant is what he wants. And what he don't know, I've been around a long fucking time. I've been through it all. I've been in the streets. I've been through hell, and I've been with the best in the horse business, and I've been with the shrewdest business people in the world. I know all these moves. I understand. I could dissect a question. I understand all of that. And I've learned through the years, and I've got to be very, very patient about a lot of that stuff. But today was just a little bit too much. And 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 I kind of exploded a little bit, and I basically said, I'm all done. I'm just all done. Now, prior to me saying I'm all done today, let me tell you what happened. When we first started out, I told him, I says, listen, I am what I am, and just listen and pay attention. We're not buying yearlings. We're not buying 2-year-olds. You're not buying anything at my age, because if you buy a 2-year-old, by the time that 2-year-old makes the races, I'll be dead. So I love the game. I've been out of it a while. I will get back in the game, just in the capacity of helping you. I will help you. I will teach you. But you came to me for help. Just keep quiet. Keep your notebook handy with your pen, and listen and listen and listen, and just watch the results. Just listen. Because through the years, I've helped. And like I said, there's a lot of trainers and drivers out there in both divisions of racing that know that I took some of the worst horses in the world and turned them into good horses, racehorses. There was a time when Larry Kadish gave me 60 horses, and 30 of them couldn't even walk onto the truck to get shipped to my barn in Florida. I got everyone to the races. And all these people out there in the horse business and the people that work for me, they all know this. So I really don't need advice from anybody. And I already told you on many of my podcasts how the top trainers in the world in both divisions gave me horses that they couldn't do anything with, from the Thoroughbred, from Alan Jerkins to I don't even want to name names, that they couldn't do nothing with, and I got them all not only to the races but win their first start back. I I've been out of the game for probably maybe 20 years, 25 years. And maybe a lot passed me by. But a horse is a horse, a bow tendon is a bow tendon. The only thing new that I think that came about was maybe the shock machines, shock therapy, maybe a lot of saltwater therapy. But other than that, it's basically the same, except for some of the drugs that came out that are new that do amazing things, but you can't use them no more. So that's off the table. So anyway, my friend, he has a son who's one of, probably from what I understand and what I've seen, a tremendous athlete. Really one of the best in his age group. I think he's an all-star, and probably going to be in the pros, and good for him. He's that talented. I seen films of him. He's very good, and I wish him all the luck in the world. Now, naturally, his father, who is the guy I'm talking about, he studied everything as a good father would to make sure that his son got the best of everything. Not only meaning equipment and the right schools to go to for the sport he was taking up, but nourishment and everything about hydration, everything about uh, preventative. So what right after a game, whatever that game may be, what's the right thing to do? What should you do? So you could not only prevent lameness, but help whatever might the result be from you playing a game. And he went into that study, and that's what he meant by he's all about preventative. He said another thing that really bothers me, that he hates vets, and that bothered me. But I never challenged him. I just, I'm 84 years old. I've been doing this my whole life. There's a lot of people that don't know just going to talk nonsense. I hate vets because they just tell you what they want. Well, a vet can only tell you what you call a vet to solve a problem that you already know. That's why you call them, because you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed. You know how many feet I injected, how many navicular bones I injected, how many ankles, how many hocks, how many I did it all. 90% of the standardbred trainers, not thoroughbred, standardbred trainers can do all of that. But you can't. You do sometimes, but you call a vet for that. You call a vet to take blood tests. You call a vet. Vets are they're not even a necessary evil. They're just necessary. They go to school for a lot of years to learn everything they have to learn, and you need them, because the rules are you can't do it yourself, and 90% of the trainers don't know how to do it themselves anyway. So I don't like when he says that. I don't like vets. I'm all about preventative. What he don't understand is that by the time you get your 2-year-old, what you're trying to prevent already happened, starting with ulcers from the time the horse is weaned. That's the first thing. But nobody even recognized that, including this guy. He told me that he never even heard of ulcers until he started talking to me. That's fucking criminal. That's criminal. Everything that he told me and everything that he asked me, that he already knew the answer to. Very sharp guy. But he has to learn who the fuck he's talking to. I learned 1959 at Ambinders Horse Farm, and he keeps constantly going back to preventative stuff, that you have to do this. Your horse jogs 2 miles. You have to bring him back and wash him, and then put these machines on him and walk him so the body gets rid of the lactic acid, and all of this stuff. And that, I mean, it's now, I will say this, in the 50s, in the 60s, that's what everybody did. Everybody did that. You jog a horse for 3-4 miles, you come back, you wash him, 4 coolers on him, walk him for a half hour, take the first cooler off, no more than 3 sips of water, that. That's what they did back then. Then things went on and they went on and they went on. And today the best athletes in all the sports, not only the sport that his son is in, but in all the sports, they do exactly what he says. Some of them, um, and they after a game or after a stiff competition, if they're a runner or whatever, they slow everything down. They don't just stop and sit down, they slow everything down. The reason they slow everything down, the main reason, is to get rid of that lactic acid that forms in your body. That they believe that if it's there long enough, it can destroy tissue and red blood cells and everything else. This is what was taught to us from the very beginning, including myself. Then, as time went on, things went on, things went on. They found out that lactic acid is absorbed by the body within a half hour after the exercise, after the game, no matter how strenuous it is. And even if it took longer, it does absolutely no damage to the tissue, to red blood cells, or nothing. So that whole myth went away. When that myth went away, everybody started bringing the horses in. Instead of 4 coolers, they put 3. A couple of years later, they put 2. A couple of years later, they put 1. A couple of years later, which is recent, the horse comes off the track, they hit him with a cold hose and throw him in a stall with hay and all the water he wants to drink. So things changed. At the same time, in the standardbred business, horses improved 100 lengths. Horses improved 20 seconds in time. I don't remember seeing the last time a horse tied up. I don't remember the last time I saw a horse piss blood in the last 20 years. And they come off the track no matter what, and they get hit with a hose right off the bat. Half of the thoroughbreds after a race in Florida, right before they even take the saddle off, the ones that do make it back, they get hit with a cold hose right away. But this fella, this particular day, I'll tell you what happened today. Horse went out for the first time. Horse went out for the first time. He had this horse for, I think he said 9 days, maybe. Horse had a lot of problems, many problems. I'm not going to name the horse. I'm just going to say he had a lot of problems. Massively dehydrated, probably quick in the 2 back feet. Had a suspect. I couldn't tell. I think it's an old injury. I think it was an old injury in the check ligament behind. I think it was the right hind leg. That's old, but it's healed. But naturally, once a check ligament tears, half the suspension is gone. So it's like a rubber band. You tear a string of rubber bands, and whatever you tear, it don't heal back. You just got half the strength. So, and that created a lot of problems with the back end and everything else, which we diagnosed the problem the first day he got the horse. And we pulled the shoes off the horse, and the feet behind were a horror. And my recommendation was to put glue-ons on, which we're going to do, because in reality, when you look at there was no place to put a nail. I don't even know how this horse had to be quick. I don't know how the shoe stayed on with 1 or 2 nails that I pulled out. Anyway, now all during this time, I'm trying to teach him, but I'm seeing through the days that every time I say something, it's like he's not agreeing. It's like the horse was dehydrated and underweight, and my recommendation was, he's a 7-year-old that had like 90 races in 2.5 years, and everything that was done to him, he don't need to be walked. He don't need to be. By the time he comes off the track, even after a race, By the time they unsaddle him and by the time they wash him and walk him to the piss stall, the body has already absorbed the lactic acid. So, but then again, it makes a big no. Now I'll tell you what happened today. Horse went out. I told the exercise rider. I says, listen, I'm not sure about this horse. You know, I never had him on the track. I never did nothing. He's brand new. But I could tell you the reason that you're taking him, because from the day we got him, I put him in the paddock. All day in the paddock, he ran. And the first 2 days, he was like a dead horse. Start treating him for ulcers, start treating him, and he got better and better and better. By the 5th or 6th day, he almost killed me walking him to the paddock. Almost killed me. Yesterday, he reared up, got over the lead shank, and kicking and bucking and almost killed me. And if it wasn't that I had the lead shank that I held on to it, I wouldn't have been able to get up because of my knees. But I chimneyed my way up on the lead shank. So I said, okay, this is the time. So the next morning, I got a hold of the exercise rider, and I says he's got to go to the track. And I could see by the questions that this guy was giving me, well, you think we should wait? You think we should wait till we get shoes put on them? You think it's too early? Questions that, why the fuck are you asking me questions? I told you from the beginning, just listen, right? Just listen. And I told him again today, leave me alone. Don't ask me any questions. He says, for 24 hours. I says, no, until we race the horse, till you see results. Just shut the fuck up. Stop. Okay. We go out. Rider gets on the horse. And I tell the rider, look, before he got on, I says, I know nothing about this horse. What I'd like you to do is jog him 2 miles and then turn him 1 mile and gallop him in hand. Now, if that's possible, I know, because there's all different kind of horses. They react different on a racetrack. I've been on a racetrack for 60 years. Thousands and thousands of horses. I know. So when you tell somebody that on a green horse that you don't know anything about, leave it up to the rider. He's been doing it his whole life. Don't say. So I told him, I says, if this is what he does, fine. If not, just do what you think is best based on the condition and how the horse is. And just let me know how, when he finally comes down, just gallop him out a little bit and let me know how he is. My pal here says, make sure you tell him to gallop him out because it's only 5-8 mile track. What the fuck? What? And it just started getting me inside. I'm not used to that. I'm used to, you know what I'm used to? I'm used to people coming to me and asking me for help. I made a fucking study for 50 years, going to universities and everything else, learning everything I had. And I told a story about Davey Handel, who bought me more than $1 million worth of horses that were not worth $100,000. And yet I got them all to the races and made all the money back. I told him about Theodore Diamond. I told him about many, many other horses that were given up for dead. Mike Sorrentino sent me a horse, couldn't walk. Mike Gagliotti sent me a trotter that after I got done, he couldn't even get him qualified. He sent him to me a Pompano. He came back here, and I think he still holds the record of 13 or 17 wins in a row for a trotter. I can't remember the trotter's name. Mike Gagliotti drove. I don't need, and I'm going to tell you something. Maybe I shouldn't mention the vet's name. No, I'm not going to say that. But I know I paid my dues. I went to school for 50 years, and I know that some things work on a bow tendon, for instance, and another horse can have the same identical tendon, and that won't work. So you just got to know. You just got to know the horses, and there's not one blanket thing that fixes everything. Now this guy, the horse comes off the track. My main thing, all I wanted to know, he brings out binoculars, this, that, he wants to hand me the body. I don't need the binoculars. I don't need, because he's just on a slow gallop now. You're not going to see nothing. He's single foot and he's out there. He's all nervous. He's single foot and he's trotting every other step. then half galloping, half single foot and doing it. Well, what are you going to see in the binoculars? He says, well, I could slow it down to, I don't give a fuck. When the guy comes back, I'm going to ask him how his back end was, because this particular jockey, exercise rider, was the exercise rider for this horse with the prior owner. So he knew of his back problem. And all I wanted to know is he better? We did a lot of work on his back and his foot. And all I want to know is he better? And the guy said, yes. That's all I want to know. I'll take it from there. I'll take it from there. I don't have. So anyway, now he says to me, he says, well, what are we going to do now? Now, here's another thing where he just stay the fuck home. I don't even care. But stay back and just watch what I do. Because I told him prior, when he says, what are you going to do after? I says, just watch. I might do things that are unconventional, that you never heard of or knew about. So just watch. But couldn't help himself. What are you doing? What are you going to do? We're gonna give him a bath. I'm going to give him a bath. I'm going to put him in a field. Well, I got to walk him. You got to walk him? I'm giving him a bath and put him in the field. Well, I'll walk him in the field. I don't give a fuck what you do. You want to walk him in the field, walk him in the field. And I gave him a bath. I scraped him off. I brought him back to the stall, dried him all down with a towel, wiped his heels, everything else. And then I walked him to the field. He walked him to the field. And he started walking him in the field, in the paddock. Paddock is about a half a mile away, maybe a quarter of a mile. And he started walking, and I filled up the water buckets and everything. By the time I filled up the 2 buckets, he was done walking him in the field, because completely fucking unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. Then we're walking back, and he says, well, tomorrow we're putting him in the walker over there. Now, the walker they have on the farm has at least, and I'm not exaggerating, at least a foot of sand in it. Why? I have no idea. But he says, I'm going to put him in. He says, you're not putting him in there? He says, yeah, he's got to go in there. He's got to wind down and everything else. This is, it just don't even make fucking sense to me. It just don't even make sense. But his whole thing is, do you know what athletes do after they do this and after they do that and after they do that? And I got to listen to this shit. So anyway, I says, you know what? I'm going to go get him, and I'm going to put him in that fucking walker. Now, here's what I told him 3 times prior. First of all, the walker has too much sand. It's too deep. Second of all, this horse has a major back problem, high-end muscle. He has a check ligament. It's an old check ligament, but you don't want him walking in a foot of sand. But the most important, well, that's very important. But the other thing is, and I'm sure all you horsemen out there seen this happen 1,000 times, that you get a high-strung horse, especially a thoroughbred, and you put him in these fucking walkers, most of them will be fine, but some of them will go fucking nuts. They start ramming, they start twisting, turning around, and everything else. But first of all, he don't need to be in there because of the sand. First of all, second of all, there's no reason for him to be in there. He just went out on the track. He says, well, that's to wind him down. Get the fuck out of here with this winding down bullshit. The only reason you wind down is to get rid of lactic acid, and then the muscles and everything else will just, within an hour, everything is fine, even after a major horse race. And then rehydrate him. His thing was, and I don't forget, we were talking to the vet, yes, I think it was yesterday or the day before. And it was a vet, because a HISA, you have to have a registered HISA vet and everything else, which is the rules. So you have to obey the rules. And I don't want to do anything against the rules, because his name, he's the trainer, Down's trainer, and I don't want to do anything to jeopardize this guy. He's putting up a lot of money. He's putting up, he must drive almost 10 hours a day. He comes a long way, and he works his ass off. He's a nervous fucking wreck. He never stops walking back and forth. He'd drive you fucking crazy. I think I told him today, if they have one of them watches where it tells you how many steps you did. He does about 10 million steps a day. He never stops walking. When you talk to him and if he's not sitting down, you got to go like this. He's just a nervous wreck. So we're talking to the vet, and I just need this vet because you have to have a registered a vet that's registered with HISA, HISA, whatever you want to call it. And because she examines the horse and sends in a report that the horse is all right and everything. And then he started asking her about how much you get for a jug, how much you get for this, because he's very, don't take this the wrong way, but he's a very frugal guy. And there's nothing wrong with being frugal, but he's very frugal. And he just very price conscious and everything else, and looks to save money. And that's fine. I got no problem with that. I'm not like that, but I got no problem with that. So he says, I'd like, and I know he said this, and when I challenged him, he says he never said it, but he's lying. I know what he said. He says to the vet, and we're talking about Lasix and everything and getting the horse into the race. And he says, when do you give the jugs? And she says, well, most of the time we give 2 jugs the day before the race. And I says, well, here you're going to give the jugs after the race. And then he said, which he said he didn't say, he said, well, I want to give 5 jugs 2 days out. I want my horses going into the race at peak condition. That's what he said. Now, to me, that was such a fucking idiotic statement. Usually I let it go, but I had to respond. So I says to the vet, and he's standing right next to the vet. I says to the vet, I says, listen, it's a fucking given. It's a given that when you put a horse in a race, if you know what the fuck you're doing, he's going to be completely hydrated. You give him 2, 3, 4 jugs before a race, and then give him Lasix, which all these horses are on. They're going to piss all of that. They don't need it. Even if you give them 5 jugs 2 days before the race, they're going to piss it all out. They're going into a race half dehydrated already. Because of Lasix, a horse loses 3-4 gallons. Horse loses probably 30 pounds of fluid just because of Lasix. But we have to assume that a good trainer is going to bring his horse right up to post time, completely hydrated, and his blood count's good, hydration is good, everything is good. So if that's the case, why the fuck do you need 5 jugs or 2 jugs before a race? If you're a responsible trainer, he's going to be okay before the race. What you need is them 5 jugs after the race, because between Lasix and sweat, that the only way a horse can cool his body off, they lose 60, 70 pounds of fluid. A horse's body, and this is what I'm telling the vet, horse has 70% of it. Horse weighs 1,000 pounds. 700 pounds is fluid. You lose 70 pounds, that's 10%. You know what happens after 10%? You lose 10%. All the body organs starts to malfunction. They all start to fail. That's what happens. That's why I'm so against Lasix. But anyway, I had to say that. So now the vet says, yeah, I have to agree with you that after, and the vet's just trying to play politics. He's just trying to agree with him, who's the guy who's paying the bills, and agree with me because I'm right. So she's trying to play 2 ends against the middle, trying to stay kind of neutral. And I felt sorry for her because she agreed with him when he said, yeah, before the race. She said before the race, and I said after the race, and then I give reasons why, which are legitimate reasons why, and the other ones have no fucking merit at all. But this is the shit I have to put up with. Okay, so anyway, that goes away. Now the next day, he has to bring it up that, oh, I didn't say that. I said that they have to rehydrate after the race. Well, that's not what he said, but that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. I don't want to have to explain. I don't want to have to answer questions. Leave me the fuck alone. Just that's what happens when you're your boss your whole life. You just, you know, and then I'm all about prevention and nutrition. And what the fuck is it with nutrition? You buy the best fucking horse feed that you could buy. 13%, 12% protein, 8, 10% fat. Buy the best hay you could get, and that takes care of nutrition. It ain't an everyday things where how's his ankle today, how's the hock today, how's his back today. It's the same. Once you worry about nutrition, buy the best, and you don't have to worry. That's one thing out of the fucking way, because anything can happen to a horse once he goes on a race. That's what you should pay attention to, and stop with this fucking obsession about nutrition and preventive. And there's no fucking preventing in a fucking racehorse. There's no preventing, because you got him. What you're trying to prevent, he already has before you even get him, starting with ulcers and bad feet and problem in his feet that nobody even recognizes. So what are you trying to prevent? And he thinks preventing is walking a horse for a fucking half hour after he jogs 2 miles, or even after he races. And I think the last time I went to the university, I think it was the university in Pennsylvania. I was at Delaware, I think. They come up with a thing that they said lactic acid is dispersed by the body within minutes of air. So by the time a horse gets back to the paddock, that whole thing is gone. And why? And I know that the athletes, when they come off the track, and he keeps bringing that up all the time, that they have the best meals, they have this, and after the race, after they play the game or whatever, they do anywhere 3 or 4 different things. Some of them ride bicycles, anything slow, just so the body will get rid of lactic acid in 1 minute rather than 5 minutes. But usually by the time they get on a fucking bicycle, lactic acid's gone already. But it's just insane. Now here's the key thing of this whole thing. He has a real good 2-year-old, and he has a yearling coming up. And the 2-year-old's a really nice horse. You want to do all of your stuff, because I don't want to say bullshit, because it's not bullshit. Good hydration, good nutrition. All of that is very, very important, especially with his new, his young horses. But after, if that's one of the important things, you buy the best feed. Now, you don't ever have to worry about that no more. You don't have to go every day. Is this got 13%? It's there. So that's one off the list that you don't ever have to worry about, because there's everything else you have to worry about. You got to worry about, feel the pulse every morning, go in the barn, take his temperature. I remember years ago, we used to take temperature every morning before a horse went out. Nobody does that no more. You look at them, they don't even have fucking thermometers no more. Nobody does that no more. But we used to take temperature. We used to come down, take the horse's pulse going into his feet and everything else. None of that is done anymore. That's the shit that he should be worried about, instead of worrying about walking a horse for 20 minutes after he jogs 2 miles. It's fucking ridiculous. It's stupid. Does it hurt? No, absolutely not. It don't hurt. But do it with your 2-year-old. Do it with your yearling. We're doing this because we both agreed that we're going to go to the cheapest fucking racetrack in the world, which is Parks, that has the worst racetrack, that has the worst horses, the cheapest horses. The horse next step from them is the fucking glue factory. And we're going to take the cheapest horse, the oldest worn out horse, and we're going to go to a farm, not on a racetrack, and all we're going to do is turn them out, race them right out of the field. They don't need to be, they know what it is to be walked. They're fucking tired of racing. They had it all. 7 years in a fucking 12x12 and sometimes a 10x10 box stall when they were born to do the complete opposite. And I'll never forget in 1971 72 or 73, I was up in Monticello, and Billy Houghton came up there. Billy Houghton, for those of you who don't know, was one of the top standardbred trainers in the world. And he had a horse called Handle with Care. And it was a little filly. And she raced, I know she raced up there. And I think she had 17 starts. She won all her starts as a 2-year-old. Then she come back as a 3-year-old, and I think she won 18, 19, 20 of her. I think she had 25 starts, something like that. She won almost all of them, and she won almost every major stake race, setting world records all over the place. And in the middle of that, with a horse that was worth billions, because she retired as the fastest and richest racing mare in the country, in the world, probably. But in the middle of all of that, in the middle of all of them 13, 14, 15 major races that she was in, and the whole racing world was shocked. Billy Houghton turned her out for 2 weeks in between with $1 million races coming up. He turned her out. And everybody, oh my God, you know what he did? Handle with care. He just turned her out. She's off the track, just in the paddock running free. He brought her back and she won every fucking stake. Okay? I learned for sure back then what I already knew, but this kind of sealed it. Give the fucking horse a break. Now we have a 7-year-old that had almost 90 starts, I think, in 2.5 years, been through the fucking mill, went from some of the good racetracks, winds up at the worst racetrack in the world, the worst betting, the worst feed, the worst footing, the worst every fucking thing. And that's the game I want to play. And the reason I want to play it is because I did it my whole life. And it's a perfect way for him to learn. Get the worst that has class. Get an old classy horse that wants to try, just can't. And after a while, because they want to try and they can't because of lameness or just being sour, their fucking mind goes. And that's why I always said, even on my website, the most important thing is keep a horse not only sound in body, but sound in mind. And that's what this horse needs. This horse, and I told him today or yesterday, if this horse, we just took him off the racetrack, found a lameness problem, whatever it might be, work on that, correct that, and get him the fuck out of a stall that he wasn't born to be in, and that they and not only that, but they have these fucking stalls, and if you don't have enough money to buy a gate, a half gate with a yoke in it, they're in a floor, they're in a room. They can't even, and you walk down the shed row and you see them facing the fucking wall, staring at the wall. A 1,200-pound fucking horse that was born to run is staring at a fucking wall. And then day after day, year after year, year after year. And now, put him in the fucking paddock. Just leave him there. Leave him there for 2-3 hours. Horse will hold his condition for 2-3 weeks. Race him right out of the field. Just race him right out of the field. Don't worry. Just leave him in the field. The biggest problem is some of them field have holes and everything like this particular paddock does. But, what are you going to do? So now, today, when this thing happened, when he says about putting him in the pen, I said to him, I says, I'm all done. I'm done. I'm all done. I went back to the barn. I started packing all my stuff. And he came back to the barn, and then he left. I don't know where he went. I packed all my stuff, and then I wanted to talk to him before. I didn't want to just walk out. But his truck was gone. I don't know where he was. So I waited about an hour, 40 minutes, and I left. And when I left, I just sent him a text. I said, I waited at the barn for you, and you never showed up. So I'm gone. I just want to say one thing before I leave. The horse has an old injury, check ligament, I believe, that interferes, and it could be the reason for the whole back end, and it could be that it could be and I just wrote, keep him the fuck out of that sand pit, Walker, that he wants to put him in. and I left, and I just drove off, and I left. It bothered me because this is a really nice horse. This kid is going to put this guy. Shouldn't call him a kid. He's a man. He's a good guy. He's really a good guy. He just has a fucking opinion. He's very he comes from a wealthy family. He has $1 million home. He has a beautiful wife. He has 3 beautiful kids, and he's a good guy. He's just fucking opinionated to the point where it's not even an educated opinion. He just hears something, and then he builds on what he hears based on other stuff that he hears. He talks to everybody, listening to everybody. He's listening. I don't even want to go into. I don't want to go into a lot of this stuff, but this is me ranting. I have to get it out because there's nobody else I could talk to about this, and I don't want to go. Anyway, he called me up, and he says, "I don't want it to end like this." And all you had to do is keep your fucking mouth shut, like you said you were going to do. I says, and I told him right on the phone, and he's listening right now. I told him, I says, just leave me the fuck alone. Just show up with your pen and pencil. You're a smart guy. Just watch and listen. I'm going to do things. Why would you need me if you're going to, what to do? Jog them, wash them, blanket, walk them. What the fuck you need me for? I'm doing things with these 7, 8-year-old cripples, the complete opposite. They've been through that shit. I don't even want to put a fucking lead shank on him. And sometimes he gets a little unruly. Whatever they did, they used to put a lead shank under his lip. All of these thoroughbred guys with the lead shanks all over the fucking halter, all around, fucking brain, all that fucking bullshit. And just stop from all of that. I wish you could follow me with a string. I would walk him to the paddock. I want him to get away from all of that stuff. And after the 3rd or 4th day in the paddock, he was rolling, rearing up, running. And the last 2 days, he ran for like 20 minutes, rearing up, eating. The first 3 days we got him, he didn't drink a bucket of water, didn't drink no water, wouldn't eat, didn't drink. You know what he drank in the last 3, 4 days? 3 buckets of water every day. 2 in the field, 3 buckets of water every day, during the daytime, and then at night another 2 buckets that he finished in the stall. So a total of 5. Eats 3 times a day, and that's another thing. That's another thing. He hits me with, and I didn't say nothing for 2 days. I didn't say nothing. I feed this horse. The horse needed some weight. He was loaded with worms. We wormed him. I went in the paddock there. I looked at his shit and everything else. I saw some worms in there, these little fucking, I forget what you call them. And it was a good thing that we wormed him, okay? And now we have to kind of fatten him up a little bit. I know if you're leaving a horse in a stall, don't feed him that much. Maybe feed him a quart in the morning, maybe a quart at night. Just don't. This horse ain't in the fucking stall. He's out in the field running like crazy, doing more miles running than if he went on a racetrack. Why can't you feed him 2 full meals a day, 3 quarts each time? Why can't you feed him 3 full meals a day? Is what he should have. And yet, yesterday when he set out to feed, and he does everything ahead of me because he wants it his way. He gave him 2 quarts or 1 quart. I don't even know what the fuck was in there. And then he says, yeah, well, we're giving him too much protein. That's why he's acting. Get the fuck out of here, you and you. It just drives me fucking crazy that I'm giving him 3 quarts instead of 2 quarts, and that's why he's rearing up in his hind legs. Just stupid fucking bullshit that I can't handle. So anyway, I left, and he called me up, and I says, look, you're a good guy. It ain't gonna work. We're 2 of a kind. It ain't gonna work. I can't work with a guy that's just like me. I have my own fucking opinion. The difference between my opinion and yours is that mine is a professional opinion. Yours is based on fucking nothing. Yours is based on what you read and what other people told you, and 90% what other people told you are fucking wrong. I was in Aqueduct Racetrack one day with Joe Aquilino when I first got my license back. I think it was 1990 or something. I don't even remember the year. And I'm sitting there, and my friend Vinny Hogan, who was the head of mutuals and security, who got me my license back for the thoroughbreds, he says, I'm going to put you with Joe Aquilino, who is a good guy. He's a retired fireman. He trains about 10 horses. He's squeaky clean. Stay with him. I stayed with him. And we go to the track kitchen during the break. And in the track kitchen, he's sitting with a bunch of other trainers. And they're talking about some kind of problem. I forgot what the problem was. I think it was a box bavin or something to do with a hock or something, but they didn't even know what the fuck they were talking about. But I didn't say a word. I didn't butt in. It was just listening to fucking pure ignorance and bullshit. So finally, one guy, a Spanish guy, sitting right almost opposite me, he says, what about your jughead friend? Meaning me. He says, what about your jughead friend, Joe? And he looks at me. What do you got to say about this? And I turned the fucking table over. I says, that's what I got to say. You got a fucking problem? Because if you got a fucking problem, you're going to have a problem. And I had to leave. And Vinny Hogan called me in the next day because the whole restaurant come to a fucking standstill. And he says, you can't do that. You can't do that. And that's the way I am. I can't handle fucking nonsense and bullshit. And not only that, but I'm fucking 84 years old. And after all I've been through in my life in the horse business since 1958, 59, I deserve the fucking right to do whatever I want to do, say whatever the fuck I want to say. And I've been begging for a thoroughbred trainer to come on here and challenge me, talk to me, anything, professionally and be completely professional about the whole thing. Not one, nobody comes on. And then I got to be told by a guy like I don't want to mention his name. What are you doing? What are you doing with me? If you won $2 million with 8 horses, what the fuck you doing here? And what he was doing here was he really don't know nothing. He knows what he was taught by people who don't know. And I don't want to mention any names, but he was taught fucking basic kindergarten bullshit that, and this whole thing is I hate vets and my whole thing is prevention. Well, I want to know how walking a horse for 20 minutes with a blanket on after he jogs 2 miles is going to stop a fucking bow 10 or teach you or learn you how to handle maybe a sesamoid problem or an ocelot problem or a foot problem or a hock problem or a knee problem or a shoulder problem or I can't get into the vet part of it because I don't want none of them getting mad at me, but I just can't handle it. My stomach has calmed down now because I got this out of my system. I wouldn't have been able to sleep tonight, and I didn't want to go in tomorrow morning because the horse has to jog again tomorrow and start saying this to him. Because if he ever would have answered me back, I would have left for real. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to help him. And he promised me that he even admitted, he says, I was wrong. Because you know what he said? He said to me, he said, and this is when I left. This is when I said, I'm all done. I'm all done. He says to me, when I told him, don't put the horse in that walker. You don't have to go in that walker. And he says to me, I says, he first of all, he don't need it. Second of all, there's a good chance you get hurt. He says, oh no, they all like the walker. What the fuck kind of statement? They all like the walker. I seen horses fucking go crazy in them fucking things. Not many, but I seen. So I says to him, how do you know? He says, oh, they all like it. How do you know? How do you know? How the fuck do you know? You've been around 1 year, and how do you know? And even if you've been around 10, how do you know? It just drives me. Then he says, you know what's wrong with you? You think that this is 30 years ago. Horses and everything changed in 30 years. That's when I'm all done. I'm all done. I'm all done. And I left. And that's when I went back to the barn. Now, he's listening. So I hope he don't get, I hope he meant what he said. And I hope he understands me that you can't fuck with me. You just can't. You can't. I don't fuck with nobody. I help everybody to the point of hurting myself sometimes. but I help everybody. And when I told you what I told you, just if you want me around, pay attention to me. When your 2-year-old comes in and you're yelling, I'm not going to interfere with it. Do whatever you want. You want to walk him for 3 fucking hours after he jogs? I don't care. Go do whatever the fuck you want. Just give me, if you have 4 or 5, just give me enough grooms, enough help where I could just direct point. That's all I want to do. That's all I'm capable of doing. It took me a fucking hour to pull a shoe off. I used to shoe a fucking horse in an hour. Now it took me an hour to pull one hind shoe off. I can't do it. I can't use my thumbs no more. My knees are shot. When the horse leaned on me, I almost fell. My back is gone. I'm just fucking old and worn out. But I'm not going to interfere with you and your 2-year-old. Do whatever you want. I'll never interfere. But when you're dealing with 7, 8-year-olds that have raced 70, 80, 100 times, thoroughbreds I'm talking about now, because standardbreds race, some of them race that much in a year. But with the thoroughbreds, give them a fucking break. Give them a break. This horse is so fucking happy now. And the only reason I galloped him today was that yesterday, for 2 days in a row now, when I turned him loose in the paddock, he reared up and kicked and bucked and then ran for 20 minutes. Good thing he was running along the fence because the inside of the paddock has some holes. He ran along the fucking fences 100 mile, I mean like a 40 mile an hour clip, to the point where there was a black guy walking that. I think he has horses on the farm. He stopped me. He stopped. And he said, "Are you okay? Is he all right?" I says, "Yeah, he's all right. He's just feeling better." And he did the same thing the day before. But that day, he almost killed me. That's when I told you he reared up and he went on the other side of the lead shank. So I says, okay, even though he has no back shoes, we trimmed his feet. I had his feet trimmed yesterday. And I says, he's going to wind up hurting himself. Time to put the saddle on him. And then I told the exercise rider, he has no back shoes. That's fine. Don't worry about it. I raced 100 fucking horses with no shoes on. So that's why he went out today. And he's going to go out tomorrow, and then he's going to go back out in the field. If you're going to stay at a racetrack, if you're going to stay at a racetrack, you're kind of fucked, because you got the racetrack, especially the place where we're at parks. It's all blacktop. There's no grass. You want to find grass, you got to go 3 miles from the racetrack. So you got a home run. You got a farm that's 10 minutes from the racetrack, nothing but grass, nothing but paddocks. They got a saltwater pool, saltwater therapy, jacuzzi type thing. They got a swimming pool. They got paddocks. They got exercises. Everything at that farm is perfect, and each one suits a certain horse. This particular horse, all he needs is the fucking paddock. That's all he needs. Just the paddock, nothing else. No fucking walker with a foot of sand, no swimming pool, no nothing. He needs the fucking paddock. Now, he was looking to claim a horse the other day that I think might need the swimming pool. He might need the salt water. He might need 1 or 2 other things. But whatever he needs, that's the edge of being on a farm. Because whatever he needs is going to be there, and we can fix him. And then after he's fixed him, maybe the combination of that and the paddock for this 6, 7, 8-year-old, whatever he is, will just change his whole mind. Because the lameness problem, if you're smart enough to fix him, the next thing you got to fix is the fucking brain, his mindset. That's what you got to fix. And that's what a farm does that a racetrack can't do. So why the fuck would you be on a farm and want to put him in a walker and want to do stuff you don't know? The walker is great for certain horses. This one particular horse, I think he has 2 quarter cracks. That water, as bad as it is, the walker, it's a foot of sand. It should have 4 inches of sand, not a foot. A foot is just going, and they put a lot of young horses in there. It's just going to rip their muscles apart and their ligaments. It's just going to hurt them. It's not good. It's not good for them. And I don't own a farm. I can't tell the farm. And in the event my friend ever claims a horse that needs that walker, I'm going to have to tell him. And I don't think I'll be able to tell him to take some of that sand out. I told him already when we first saw it. And he says, yeah, there's much too much. I don't know who put all this sand in. There's much too much. He says, we're going to take it out. I haven't looked to see if you take it out. But if my friend ever claims a horse and he's the kind of horse that needs the walker for whatever reason, I'm going to have to tell him. But I don't think it's going to happen, because there's a guy on the farm has a lot of horses, and a really nice guy. And he uses that walker a lot. And I know that they're not going to overrule him. And if all that sand is in there, it's because I'm sure that guy wanted it. And if that guy didn't want it, I'm sure that sand would be out. So if the sand is still there, it's going to wind up staying there. And then they got to make another choice. Because what you have to know is, and that's another thing, and someday I'm going to do it. If I keep doing this fucking podcast, someday I'm gonna talk about all of that shit. I want somebody to answer me, why does a thoroughbred racetrack have to have some racetracks have 6 inches of cushion, some 5.5, some 5, some 4, some 4.5, some 4, and maybe 1 or 2, 3.5. Why do I have to have it? And I'm going to explain to you when somebody tells me why. Then I'm going to explain to them why they shouldn't have it, and I'm going to explain some of the things that I'm not going to get into that now, but I just why? Just a simple question. Why? And if Heise is in charge of, Heise is Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority, integrity of the welfare of the horse. Well, if that's the case, why the fuck is every racetrack different? Why is every surface of every racetrack different? So they all got 70, 80% sand. Okay, and then everything else is different. The whole fucking base is maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep, right from the top of to the real base. Then there's sand, then there's this, then there's that, then there's drainage, then there's this, then there's that. But everyone is different. Every track is different. Every surface is different. Every bank is different degree on every bank. If you're interested in protecting the fucking racehorse, why? Because every surface means so much. Why are you eliminating the grab on the front of the horse's shoes when some racetracks you need a fucking grab? Some racetracks you don't. So if you're going to make certain rules that you shouldn't have a grab, make sure every racetrack is the same, where a grab is not necessary. That's all. Make it all uniform. Just make it all uniform. Instead of concentrating on all the fucking bullshit and nonsense that you're going to have lawsuits up the ass, which you're getting to have now, you really want to protect the horse, Because let me tell you something. Sliding can do just as much damage as jamming. Just as much. Maybe even more. And I can go on. I can go into all of that stuff if you want. Know the difference between the difference in racetracks, dirt tracks. Then above all the that was my phone. Then if Heise is going to get into that area, take care of the horse. Right now, you're not only crucifying the owners and the trainers, you're crucifying the horse. When you can't have put a magnetic blanket on a horse 2-3 days before a race. Are you fucking kidding me? You can't give GastroGuard to help heal a fucking horse's ulcers within 2 days of them racing? Are you fucking kidding me? You people don't have a fucking clue. But why don't you start doing what you were hired to do? Protect the horse. You got 70 people. You got 70 people in this HIWU, Horse Racing Integrity and Welfare Unit. You got 70 people there looking around at and that's what you're gonna spend $100 million a year on fucking lawsuits. But get 10 of them people. Let them go around to the racetracks and just make a rule. You made a fucking rule through the government. The government made a rule that every thoroughbred track has to sign up to a government agency, which is Heise. They have to sign up to Heise. You made that the government now become a fucking communist situation where now the government says you have to sign up to Heise. And why? Because we're protecting the horse. Well, you want to protect the horse? Make all the fucking racetracks the same. Make all the drug things the same. Make everything the same for the horse, and then learn about the bank. Learn about, and then you could tell what kind of shoes you should have, grabs and everything else. I remember years ago when if it fucking rained, no matter if they floated the track or if they sealed the track or if they just left it muddy, the fucking blacksmith would come to all the barns and put fucking corks in their fucking fucking suicide. They don't have a fucking clue. They just don't. They just don't have a. I can't get into that stuff because I get crazy. There's so much I want to say. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, I let's see how long I've been doing this now. Oh God, it's only an hour and 10 minutes. That's pretty good. Well, I'm calmed down a lot now. I got that out of my system. I'm going to show up at the farm tomorrow morning, and if my friend is listening, if he shows up, that means he's not mad, and maybe. And I told him, I sent him a text, and I'm going to read to you the text that I sent him. I said, make sure you watch my podcast tonight. Without mentioning any names, I will rant. Hopefully you will learn something. And the sad part is, and like I told him over the phone today, I don't want to yell. He's a man. He's not a little kid. I don't want to yell. We're fucking men. I don't want to yell. But when I told you how I was in the beginning, you know, if you say to me, like in that fucking Peter Sellers thing, if I have a dog and he says, does your dog bite? And I say yes, and you pet him and you get bit. Whose fault is that? I told you how I was. I didn't walk out because I'm a mean person or that I'm reasonable. I walked out because the commitment that you made and what we talked about, just leave me the fuck alone and listen, pay attention, and learn. In your fucking mind, it has to be, it's one way. Oh, you got to jog too much, you got to ring, you got to walk them way after this, and then turn them in a paddock. And, you know, maybe the paddock got too many holes. We got to fill the holes in this and that. Jesus Christ, just. And what I want to tell him is just do me a favor. Stay the fuck home. But he don't want to because he really loves the horses. He wants to get involved. But he got one thing against him. He asks too many people their opinion. He talks to a lot of fucking people. The problem is he's talking to people that don't know. Why the fuck would you talk to a blacksmith if you want to learn how to make cookies? Talk to somebody, and then when you finally found somebody like me, pay attention. Not after the second day you're telling, well, I think he should walk and I think you should do, and well, you're feeding him 3 quarts and he's not on the track, but he's in the fucking paddock doing more in the paddock than he would be on the track. Only on the track he's miserable. In the paddock he's running 10 times more, 10 times faster, and he's happy. You don't want to feed him because in your mind he didn't go to the racetrack? Give me a fucking break. You got to understand, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. Maybe I don't explain every single thing to you, but a good trainer, right now, I could walk down a fucking shed row, and many other standardbred trainers can do it. I don't know about thoroughbred guys. Walk down without stopping, look into every stall right at the door without stopping. Look at every horse, and then come back at the end of the barn and say, that horse got a problem in the left front, that right hind, that. Okay? That's what 60 years teaches you. Where they stand, how they stand, what the shit looks like, what the piss looks like, what it means. Right now, if I was to ask you or any other thoroughbred trainer, if they saw in the right front, what lead wouldn't they want to go on? They ain't nobody can answer me. You know why? I ain't even going to tell you why. But just keep this in mind. And I watched a horse race yesterday that was by far the best horse in the race. He was fucking 25 to 1, 30 to 1, and he was clearly the fucking best. And when looking at the program, he says to me, my friend, he says, well, I like the bottom horse, and the bottom horse was 3 to 5. And the horse I like was 25 to 1. And he says, you know, meantime, the race goes off. And the horse that I like never switched leads, stayed on the left lead from the whole fuck around the turn where he should be on the left lead, halfway down, and he stayed even on the wrong lead, on the left lead. Finally, the jockey had enough fucking brains to yank on the fucking right line and pull him this way, and he made him switch leads. When he switched leads, he made up 4 lengths, but the race was just about over, and he wound up finishing 3rd or 4th. I don't know where he finished. But anyway, these are the things you learn. And for my friend who I know he's listening, look, I don't want to, like I tell you on the phone today, I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to argue with you, and I don't want to yell at you. But that's my nature. I don't ever expect a grown man in the horse business to fucking challenge me. It ain't ever going to happen. I want to walk away, and I will walk away, but I made a commitment to you. And I want to live up to that. But part of that commitment is you're going to leave me the fuck alone. So just leave me the fuck alone and let me do and pay attention and watch. And I'll tell you what, and I told you that today. Don't say a fucking word. Wait for the results. Wait for the results. That's all. Just wait for the results. And then, and if the results are what positive, just keep your mouth shut and keep learning. Because every horse that you get is going to have different problems. Because remember, we're at the worst racetrack in the world with the worst horses in the world, and the bottom of the rung, $5,000 claimers that are worth 500. Because if you took that 5 claimer and put them in a 5 claimer at any other racetrack in the world, they'd finish distance because they're really worth $1,000. This is what we're dealing with. And he's worried about fucking walking them so the lactic acid don't build up and this and that. And that's the only reason. I mean, he could say whatever he wants. The reason for all of this come down from the thing is so the muscles relax, the muscles, you rub them and everything else to rub the lactic acid out. That's the whole thing is lactic acid and nutrition. I know that. I learned that in 1959. I don't have to be reminded of it 65 fucking years later by somebody that's all he knows. That's all he knows. I don't want to. I said enough. I'm starting to get nervous now because I'm repeating myself. But that's it. So my friend out there, I hope I made myself perfectly clear again. You're a good guy. We're always going to have battles because you have a head like a fucking rock, just like me. And my opinion is a professional opinion. Your opinion is bullshit when it comes to the horses. And you're doing a good job with your son. I know you got these fucking machines that cost $16,000. And that's another thing I want to tell you. And it bothers me, but I have to, I don't want to come down on you, but it bothers me. You come with these fucking machines. You know that we're going to race these horses right back. There's something, and we're going to have to get this straightened out because I'm not going to put up with it no more. These horses have to eat 3 times a day. That means we got to create a schedule. If I got to get up at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning to get there to feed them on time, so the exercise rider can get on them at between say 9 and 10 o'clock whenever he comes to that barn, so we have time to wash him and everything else, and then maybe feed him lunch and then turn him out in the field. So he's jogged, everything is done. He gets fed at noontime, and then the rest of the afternoon he spends in the field, especially now that the weather's going to start getting cooler and no flies and everything else. And then at night he comes back in, he eats his meal at 5 o'clock, and then he sleeps all night, and he rests all night till the next morning. And that's another thing. And another thing that drives me crazy, but I think he's going to fix that, is we have a room where we have the hay, we have all the equipment, and he has enough stuff where if you have 300 horses, he has stuff for every fucking thing. He has too much stuff. He has every kind of supplement, he has everything. all in my opinion, a waste of fucking money. And if he was here now, he'd probably punch me in the face because he believes in, and you got to have this special salt for this, special this for this, special this. You got to do things of this and 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 this. What you don't understand is that bad? No, it's not bad. Does maybe 60-70% of it get pissed out or shit out? Yeah. So why don't you just have the fucking vet come, and whatever you're going to give them, just give them right into the bloodstream. That's all. And just get good feed that has everything you need in it. And if you want to throw a little flaxseed in or a little whatever, that's fine. But don't spend a half fucking hour mixing this and mixing this and mixing this and mixing that. And another thing, and it almost drove me crazy today. He wants to do a horse up. There's no reason to do a horse up. And the reason is because he's a brand new horse, and I need to see what blows up, what don't blow up, what's he doing in the field. I couldn't tell the first couple of days because he didn't do much. Then when he started running like crazy in the field and bucking and kicking, I want to leave him open. I need to see what blows up. I need to see if there's a problem. I need to see it so I can handle it. If you want to, you got to bandage him because in the field, this and this, and we got to get blood to the area and this and that. No. That's all true, partly. But the reason I want to leave him open is I want to see. This way, if there's a problem, he's running in the field all afternoon. He comes back in this run. We know that there's a problem. Where if we do him up, we're never going to know there's a problem. The other thing is that I told him, he says, well, we got to get circulation to this area. That's why I'm putting blue lotion on. And I told him, I says, every fucking step a horse takes, the back of the foot, the last quarter of the foot is the shock absorber. When it hits the ground, it pumps blood up. It's like a pressure hose. It pumps blood up and it comes right back down again. So every time a horse takes a step, that lower part is getting plenty of blood. Now, if you need to be more aggressive because of a bow tendon or whatever it might be, then you start using something a little bit stronger. So the only leg brace he had on that he wanted to do up, and I did it up after one day, 3 days ago, I think, because when he rolled, he got his leg caught underneath, and he got a little thing, and it blew up a little bit because he got his leg caught under the fence, and he was probably yanking, and it blew up a little bit. So I wound up doing up that leg with a sweat, and next morning it came right down, and it's fine. But I wound up doing the other 3 legs. So when I did the other 3 legs, because that one leg I just put a sweat on it, and I says, you have any? And he says, blue lotion. I says, no, that's too strong. I says, look, all he needs is fucking alcohol or witch hazel or Lister, just something, just do him up, or do him up with nothing. No, I always use blue lotion. I don't give a fuck what you always use. I don't care what you always use. It's too fucking strong for a horse's leg that don't need nothing. I'm used to the blue lotion, and all you horse people out there know, we used to put it on their back and steam them with it and everything else. Maybe today's blue lotion is a lot weaker. I don't know. But anyway, that was another fucking thing. You have to have blue lotion. I never had a horse blister on blue lotion. What the fuck you have? 8 horses in your life? I had 8,000. I was using blue lotion before you were born. Anyway, now the fly spray. Okay, there are a lot of flies out there. The last couple of days was like 85 degrees out there. It was hot, and there were a lot of flies in the paddock. And he says to me, there are a lot of flies. And he's right. He was a lot of flies. And my answer was, that's why they have tails, and that's why they can reach their back end with their head and this and that. And that's why they have fly nets for their head and everything else. So then he says, well, I want to get the fly spray. Oh, okay, get the fly spray. He gets the fly spray, and I put it on. It has a squirt bottle. I put it on. And I put it on 2 days in a row. And it stayed on for about the fly stayed off for about 2 hours. And then you go out to fill the water buckets up, and the flies are right back again. I think some of these flies are immune to all of that shit, even though that's impossible because flies don't live that long. But anyway, so now his whole chest and everything is starting to scurf from the fly spray yesterday. So I says, we got to stop with the fly spray. So he rubs it and some of the scurf comes off. Today I get there and his whole fucking body is scurfed with fly spray. Everything is scurfed. His neck is starting to scurf. Where the saddle goes, it's scurf. Nothing bad. It's nothing serious, but it's a scurf. And it's a scurf to the point where if this horse is in the go, them thoroughbred veterinarians would scratch. What'd you put on this horse? He's scurfing. Scratch. It's an automatic. One flake of scurf and they're scratched. And that's what this horse, his whole body now is scurfed. So you know what he tells me today when we're out there? I'm going to go get the fly spray. You can't put fly spray. He says, I know. I was the one that cleared his chest yesterday. His whole fucking body is full of getting ready to scurf. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Flies, horses, that's it. Do you want to see them stomping and everything? No. Put a fly sheet on them. Put bandages on their fucking legs or get that fucking bullshit poultice, put it on from their knees down, just skim it on. That's the best fly protector there is. Put a fly sheet on him and get the fly spray for his head. And you don't have to worry about it. Don't keep fucking spraying them with fly spray that's scurfing them up like crazy. Why the fuck do I have to, and not only say it once and 2 and 3 times, and he just keeps going back to it. All right, I said enough. That's it. I said enough. Anyway, I thank you folks for listening to my fucking rant. I don't even know how many. Let me see something. I'm going to put on comments here. So now you know what we're going to do now? Because it's only been, it's been an hour and a half. It's been an hour and a half, and that's good. The only other thing I want to say, I just got to say one other thing. And I don't know if I mentioned this or not. A thoroughbred going maybe 35, 40 miles an hour in a mile race, each foot hits the ground about almost 200 times. 200 times it is. That's just in the race, not counting scoring, not counting anything else. How could your main priority be the shock absorber? And after the shock absorber, take care of, and this is a question for Heiser. 200 times in a race, this. How could you not pay attention to the welfare of the horse, the help of the horse, the recovery of the horse after a race, and making sure that he's not on a fucking racetrack? How would you like to have race cars that you spent maybe $1 million for and then throw a bunch of tacks on the fucking racetrack? How would you like to have that? Or around the last turn it into a sheet of ice? How would you like that? How'd you like that? Why don't people talk about that? Why don't everybody start talking about that? Anyway, that's enough. So you know what I'm going to do? My dog is here. He wants me to take him out. Here's what I'm going to do now, because I usually do this. So being that I'm awake now, I put this table over here because I thought I was going to fall asleep. So let me just run down this list of questions, because maybe there'll be some questions here. Buddy, in a little while, just take it easy. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Sundance. I didn't forget you. So hi, Larry. Hiya. Okay, Sundance. No foot, no horse. Very good. She used to work for me. She knows. Eric, Larry, God bless. When a claim is put on a horse and the horse, God forbid, breaks his leg, you still have to buy the horse if you win the claim. It used to be like that, but they changed the rule. That was a good rule they changed. So now, not only don't you get the horse, you're exempt from that, but after the race, if the horse comes back lame, the state vet can void the claim. And that's what they did the other day at the track. So, no, you don't own the horse. And if the horse comes back bad, they just void the claim. Okay, Larry, I saw a race where the horse at Belmont ran for purse money only. I don't ever remember seeing that in harness racing. How does that happen? I should know that, and I do know that, but I ran for purse money only. You know who would know that? My friend Jimmy. Maybe Jimmy can answer this down the line. I know it. I just can't remember. Run for purse money only. I don't know. I don't know. If Jimmy answers that, I'll come back to that. I totally feel for everything you're saying, Larry. Old saying, keep your eyes open, ears open, and big fucking. Look, the guy's a good guy. The guy he can't help himself. You know he can't help himself. It's like, you know what he reminds me of when like I can't help himself. It reminds me of that story of the rabbit. No, the frog and the tarantula. They're in the forest, and there's a big forest fire. I'm dribbling all over the place now. There's a big forest fire. So the only ones left is the frog and the tarantula. They're right at the water's edge. All they have to do is swim across the pond, and they escape the fire. So the tarantula says to the frog, let me hop on your back. He says, I can't swim. Let me hop on. And the frog says, I'm not going to do that. You're a tarantula. You're going to bite me, and then we're going to die. No, would I do that? All right, hop on my back. So the tarantula hops on the frog's back, and halfway across the pond, the tarantula bites the frog. The frog looks up. Well, what the fuck you doing? You bit me. Now we're both going to die. And the tarantula says, I can't help it. I'm a tarantula. And that's my friend. He can't help it. Some people, you just can't help it. You want to try, but you can't. And I have the same problem. Only I learned a long time ago, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And when I'm around people, and I've been in 4 or 5 different businesses, I learned one thing: to spot, to somehow through resumes or whatever, spot the best person for the job that the company I created, but I know nothing about, and then make believe, impress me, and you interview the people from now on. You got to know what you don't know, and then surround yourself with the right people. But when you think you have all the answers because you've been lucky and you've been smart your whole life, and just say preventative is everything, and I don't know how to fuck preventative bandaging a horse's leg is stopping them from getting a bow tendon in a race. But anyway, Larry, what happened to you is what baseball managers go through when the college nerds tell the owners through, you hit me with these big words, analytics, how to manage the game. Analytics, I can't, but it's analysts. Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for the guy because the guy's a good guy and he wants to learn, and he's a nervous wreck, and I know it's tough for him because he wants to say so much and he wants to do what he was taught, what he thinks is the right thing. He must have read 1,000,000 fucking books on nutrition and what do athletes do, the best way to after a game. I mean, you learned this shit 50 fucking years ago. I mean, but when as things, I ain't gonna get into it. Anyway, okay. Tom Lusty, Larry, hope you charge top dollar for your experience and service. No, this guy, he made me a good deal. If I go along with this deal, he made me a good deal. He made me a fair deal, and he's a nice guy. And I love to go along for the ride because I really enjoy it, even though I drive an hour and a half in the morning, work all day, because I really don't want them to hire a groom, even though it's getting to the point now where I can't use my thumbs. I have that carpet. I can't use my thumbs. You can't even pick up a fucking pitchfork anymore without me going into crucial pain. My knees are killing me because of the sheer weight when I try to pull the shoe off, and my back is. Plus, I'm 84 years old. I'm fucking worn out and tired. But I don't want them to hire a groom yet because I don't want them to go for the expense. But I can't I can't stay there all fucking day and bring the horse in at 5 o'clock and feed him and then come home and I can't do that. So, but I'm going to do it until we get a few more horses where it's warranted to hire a groom, and I'll do that, and I'll work with him, and I don't care. But he just got to leave me the fuck alone. Okay. Chatting with Stacks. Larry, how are you? How you doing? How you doing, Stacks? I know that you started your own tea. Stacks he's I met him about a year ago. He come on my podcast. I went on his, and he has a good podcast. Very, very informative. He does a lot of stuff. And last time I spoke to him, he called me up. I think he called me for my birthday. And he says that he bought a bunch of stuff. He's going to start producing his own movie, I think. So good luck to him, and thanks for watching, Stacks. Okay, Gary D. Deep sand, worse for tendon problems. You're right, worse for any kind of ligament problems or tendon problems, and that's why I didn't want this horse in that sander. That's not even even if the sand wasn't there. He don't need it. What's the purpose of it? He went on a racetrack, he jogged, he galloped, and out in the field. What's he got to go in the fucking walk of? For what reason? What reason? Just give me a reason. And if you say it's to bring him down, the lactic acid was gone before we took the saddle off him in the fucking barn. Don't get me started. Okay. Jesse Black, please hit the like. He says, please hit the like button. I don't even know where the like button is, Jesse. Hey, Jesse, if you knew the answer to that guy's problem, why does a horse only run for purse money? If you knew that, let me know. I'll answer that guy's question. I think I know one when he's only racing for purse money. Or I don't know. I don't remember. Sundance, especially when he walks a half mile to the paddock, then wants to walk him to the paddock. Yeah, don't make sense. Penn National and Charlestown are even worse than Parks. Terrible small fields and lame, overused horses. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I think Charlestown even races for more money. But, it's what are you going to do? Mike C., handled with care, beat the boys constantly. Yeah, when handled with care, that was the horse I talked about. I think when she became a 4-year-old, she raced against all age horses, boys and everything else, and beat the hell out of them too. But the point of that story was, in the middle of her career, here's the fastest mare of all times, the world worth millions of dollars as a brood mare, and she's got millions of dollars a race ahead of her. And right in the middle, he turned the horse out for 2 weeks, right out in the field, racing right out in the field. That's the power of the fucking field and the grass. Okay. Rags, question. Our horse, Irresistible Force races. Oh, that's the horse's name. Irresistible Force races at Santa Anita on Lasix. But when it comes to stake races at Santa Anita, you can't run on Lasix. So how does a trainer compensate for Lasix? You're right. It's a fucking problem. First of all, I don't want to get into it because that's a whole other podcast. Every horse, they should never race on Lasix for obvious reasons, some of which I talked about today. You're fucked. And not only that, but sometimes you go state to state. You can race Lasix here. Now you got to race for $1 million in a state that you can't use Lasix, and the horse has a bleeding problem. And what do? If you race him again, he's a two-time bleeder. He'll be barred for life. If you don't race him again, he's the best in the race. With Lasix, you forfeit $1 million. What the fuck you do? That's what I mean. They don't have a clue what they're doing. Okay, Sundance. I used to love getting classy old horses. That's what I used to do. Race them out of the field. Sundance, you worked for me. You raced them out of the field for me. And I didn't forget to take you to lunch. Rags, I find this extremely interesting. What's he look like? I find this extremely interesting. Well, I'm glad you do. I just got a lot off my chest, and I never been able to say everything I had to say in person tomorrow to him, because tomorrow I just want to get to work, and I just want to do what has to be done for the sake of the horse. And he says he won't interfere no more, and I hope he don't. It's just because he's going to see things, and he's going to say to himself, what the fuck is he doing? He shouldn't do that. Don't he realize I put the money up for this horse? He shouldn't do that. He just leave me alone. Just watch the results. Watch what happened. He showed me a picture today. He says, this is the horse the first day we got him. He was in the field. And he says, look at him today. He had him 9 days. Look at the difference. So pronounce this. He went on a track today. The jockey, the exercise rider come off, said he's really good. He's feeling good. He's acting good. He's eating good. He's drinking. Shut the fuck up. Okay. Okay, Gary D. 1000% right, Larry. You're a real horseman. Now, you see, here's the other thing. My friend said, I forgot who it was today. They said that why you keep asking questions. People have questions come in. Half of the people, most of the people are not even horse people, so they don't even know if I'm right or wrong. So I'm not saying this to educate anybody. I'm saying it to get this off my stomach, so I could sleep tonight, and hopefully he'll get the point. And even if he's mad right now, he'll be calmed down by tomorrow morning. Then he'll take me to breakfast, and then we'll be fine until he pulls the shit again. Which maybe now he learned his lessons. He's just like I told him. He's just going to learn things, and he's going to see things that he thinks are crazy, and he's going to say, "That's my fucking money. He's fucking with it." Don't worry about it. Okay, Regs, hell yes, you do. No hold back. Good for you. Say your piece. You have to. You have to. You have to. Okay, Regs, wow, he needs to listen to you for sure. It's for his own good. Not only that, but he's learning something different. He's learning alternatives. He's learning that what if you can't walk, and there's no shed row, and it's fucking 30 below zero out and sleet coming down, and that all happened within 20 minutes after the race. Then they canceled the next race, but you already raced, and you come in and you take the saddle off and you're washing them and everything else, but you can't go out. There's a fucking tornado coming, and you have no choice but to put them in the stall. What are you going to do? Go crazy? You go crazy? Nothing's going to happen. By the time you walk in the stall, whatever you were trying to prevent by walking them is gone. Just make them comfortable. That's all. Regs, amen. Amen to giving horses a break. Too many used as business and left too long in stalls. You're right. It's sad. I tell you, when you go to these farms and these racetracks and you see these big, beautiful animals, not only do they get abused with the drugs and shit, and some people don't know what the fuck they're doing, and then they get there, and by 11 o'clock they're gone, and the racetrack's like a barn area, and all that's left there until the next morning at 5 o'clock is these big, beautiful 1,200-pound animals with their fucking head in the corner and just miserable. Larry, why are you putting yourself through this? Did you explain the depth of the sand on the track last show? I missed it. I don't know if I did. Lou, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing anymore. I had a tough day today. And tough. First of all, I slept more I went home last night and I went to bed at 8:30. And I got up this morning, I think it's 6 or 7 o'clock, whatever it was. I never slept that much in my life. And I got to I couldn't unwind. I was like a zombie all day. That poor horse went out today and the bit come out of his mouth and the jockey jumped on. And nobody got, he didn't get loose or nothing. But he said, I missed a hole for the buckle. Like I couldn't believe it. Anyway, well, first of all, the stall was dark. You can't see. There's no lights. You can't see anything. But anyway, it was my fault. But I don't know what I said. Sounds like he's racing Paul up. Sundance, take it easy. Rags, how does he pass trainer's test? Well, I'll tell you how he passed the trainer's test, because the trainer's test is really bullshit. And this guy's smart. He's smart. All you have to do is read the manual and know basic stuff, and then you got to go through the bond test. You got to know how to put a bandage on, and they pass you. Especially if you're the owner, because in thoroughbreds, if you're the owner, you can get you take the trainer's test, and they basically automatically pass you. But he knows how to put a bandage on. He knows all of that stuff. But I'll tell you, he shouldn't have to do that stuff. He shouldn't have to do that. He should know how to do it, which he does. And then why do it? Why do it? Learn the craft of training and conditioning. Learn that. Learn that. Nutrition is fucking nutrition. Buy the best, and you can put that aside. Never have to worry about it for the rest of your life. Learn that lactic acid, the body absorbs it. I told him that the first day he came to my house, and yet he insists on walking up for 20 minutes, doing this and this and that. It's not necessary. You want to do it with your 2-year-old and everything? Fine, do it. Go ahead. But the horses that I'm in charge of, these 7-8-year-old horses, that's been 7 years in a fucking stall, sour, rotten, lame, crippled, just leave me the fuck alone. I said that about 20 times tonight. Okay. Larry, John Joseph, Larry, any thoughts on the Breeders' Crown races at the Meadowlands? No, I don't have any thoughts. But I think Bitcoin just sent me a thing that he's going to have. He's supposed to come on here for that, but I think he sent me a thing in the email. I didn't read it because I was so mad today, so upset. That I didn't even read the emails, but I think he's either coming on here or doing something. But I have no comment. Okay, Matt Gray, is it true the driver Mario Bertolone used to drive high on cocaine? Well, look, in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of guys on cocaine, a lot of guys. And I'm going to tell you something. The only reason I'm telling you is because it's in my book, and it was in all the newspapers. All of them jockeys, and you guys know what I'm talking about. All of these New York jockeys that were involved, you know what they wanted? They were all making plenty of money. The leading jockeys in the world. And instead of 5,000, they says, "Give me the coke. Give me coke. Give me coke. Give me coke." Well, not all of them, but a lot of them wanted cocaine. A lot of them wanted half and half. Give me 2,500 and 2,500 in coke. Everybody was doing it back then. I don't know if Mario was doing it. I don't know. I didn't dabble in that shit, and I had my own fucking problems. But everybody was doing it back then. Everybody. Remember, there was a guy years ago called Bobby Frame. He top driver, very stone drunk, He used to win races. We have to used to carry. I remember one day at Green Mountain, we had to pick him up and put him in a seat. And that one day he was so bad he actually fell forward in the seat. The horse started kicking because he fell down with the lines, and he almost got killed. But Bobby Frame, he used to work for, I forgot. Okay, let's see. Tom Lusty. Any future deals you make, insist on a daily driver to and from. That's not a bad idea. You need the rest from not driving to keep you calm. No, that's a great idea. I wish that all these drivers today, all the harness drivers today, they all have drivers. They all have drivers. They drive them all over the place. That would be great. And most of the time, he used to come and pick me up and take me. But now it's going to be different. He was going to stay at my house. He stayed at my house one time, and I guess he didn't like it for some reason. So today, I knew something was wrong and something was on his mind today when he says, I think I'm going to stay at the Red Nest Hotel or whatever it was. I knew something was going on there, but who gives a fuck? I didn't stay at my house. It's wide open to you. You're welcome. You want to stay at the hotel? Stay at the hotel. Bullshit reasons, but I don't care. I don't care. I want to help you. If you let me help you. Okay, let's go. John Joseph, Larry, can't you get licensed in any? Yeah, I can get licensed. When I left the Meadow, the only reason I got out of the business because the Meadowlands closed the barn area. And at that time, I got rid of all the thoroughbreds, and I had a couple of standardbreds because I lived 2 minutes from the Meadowlands. So I think I had 4 or 5 standardbreds. I had Eddie Palmieri working with me, and I was racing them. And then they closed the barn area, and then I had to make a choice. I says, geez, I'm like almost 80 years old at the time. I'm going to have to start driving. No, I wasn't 80 years old at the time. I was it was younger, but I would have to drive all the way to Gateway or Showplace Farms in the morning. That's another 55, 60 miles. Then stay there all day, then drive back. And if I was racing, I'd have to go down there, ship the horse up to the Meadowlands, then go. I'd be getting home at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I just packed it in. I says, that's it. Okay, Jesse Black. That's not true, John Joseph. What John Joseph say? John Joseph. What did John says, Larry, any thoughts on? That's not true, John Joseph. Let me go back and see any more John Josephs. Jesse Black, I think you're going crazy. I don't see any John Josephs here. John Joseph. Well, Jesse Black, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not true, John Joseph. John Joseph said, Larry, any thoughts on the Breeders' Crown races at the Meadowlands? Breeders' Crown races at the Meadowlands. That's not true, John Joseph. Yeah, care to put your money where your mouth is. I don't even know what you're talking about. Where? Liberty Bell. Brandywine. No Meadowlands. No Yonkers. Jesse Black. A license is issued by the state, not by the racetracks. I don't know what they're talking about. I missed it along the way. Okay, let's see. John Joseph. Jeff Garral will never allow him on the property. Meaning me, I guess. John Joseph, meaning me. Who cares? What do I care? I don't care. Garral will never allow. Let me tell you something about Garral. No, I better not. But you can be sure of one thing. I'm not even going to say that. Okay. Here's that girl. She must be Greek. Hi, Larry. When are these horses you're working on going to race? Um, I'll probably let you know. That won't be my choice. That will be his choice. I'm just there to give some advice. That's all. That's my only function. Just there to help. And I hope I'm successful in everything that I'm doing. But today he told me that the game passed me by. And look, maybe he's right. He could be right. But that's the part that got me. These ain't the same horses that were 30 years ago. And maybe he's right. And maybe everything I'm doing is wrong. And maybe everything he says is right. And it could be. That's why I told him, just wait for the results. That's all. Just wait for the results. And the results will happen in another couple of weeks. And then, then he could, then he's right. If the horse was part of an entry, that's why. Okay. Okay, that answers that question. Why he's only racing for the purse. So that means if he wins, he just gets the purse money, but the horse that finishes second wins. I guess I don't know. I know it's something like that. I don't know. Rags, this guy should be asking you questions, not people around the barn. Well, it's not that he does. He asks a lot of questions. He does. He really wants to learn. He asks a lot of questions, but he's also a friendly guy, and he asks a lot. He asks a lot of people, and he retains all this information. I only see. It's not even a question of he learns how to decipher the questions, because if you ask 100 idiots a question, why should you believe any of them? You know, if you're going to ask somebody a question, ask the right person. Don't just ask anybody. Like, I'm not going to mention any names, but an exercise rider can get off a horse and say, yeah, this and this and this and this and this. The fuck? And that could throw a trainer that's not really sharp. It could really throw him off. You know, it could really throw him off. So I won't get into that, but there's a lot I could say about that. But you got to know who to ask. Don't just ask anybody, because then you're going to get your whole head flooded, because you could ask 20 people about the same thing, and they'll all have 20 different answers. Okay, let's see. What's this one? Jesse Black. If a horse is accidentally scratched but wants to race, they are sometimes permitted to race for the purse only. If a horse is accidentally scratched but wants to race, they are sometimes permitted. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, but I'll tell you, that statement has to be true, because that guy would know. If a horse is accidentally scratched but wants to race, they have to let him race, and he races for the purse money only. Permitted to race for purse money only. I guess the horse that finishes second, the people that bet on him. I don't know how that works, but I know that Jesse would be right in that. Okay, I'm being corrected again. I don't understand these big words. Analytics, stats. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Thanks, Riggs. I wish you were here sitting next to me for these big words. Jimmy used to sit next to me and help me with these big words. That's what happens when you hang around horses your whole life. Okay, Larry, I'll help you. I know you will, Sundance. Jesse Black, take time to take, buddy. That means I'm on too long. I'm on, oh my God, almost 2 hours. Okay, we'll just get to the end of these questions real quick. Sundance, Rags, thank you for your time answering my question on Lasix. Appreciate you. Thanks for the question. John Ramsey, hardest part of the horse business was dealing with owners. Yeah, it's not dealing with owners. Some horses just, they hire you to be the trainer. Just be the trainer. And if you have an opinion, you get a trainer's license. a lot of trainers, they take exception. They get upset about that. You know, they work very hard at what they do. They pay attention, and then whatever a good trainer does, he does it for a reason. You know, and to sit on the phone, oh, that's why a lot of these leading trainers, they say, oh, you can never talk to them on the phone. You can never do that, because they're tired of hearing the bullshit. They're tired of bullshit. I was with a blacksmith yesterday, and I can't mention his name, but he says to me, he says, before, he said, how long you been in the business? And I says, 65 years. And he said, okay, great, let's talk. And I says, why'd you ask that question? He says, I can't deal with these new trainers. I just can't deal with them. I don't want to get into it, but it's tough. He's been shoeing horses now for 40 years. He's one of the best around, both standardbreds and thoroughbreds. But he has a point. You got to listen to a lot of fucking bullshit that don't even make sense. Okay, Sundance, you know I'll come help you. I know, Sundance. Allison. Oh, pretty Allison. That's my friend, my good dear friend, Phyllis's daughter, Allison. She is beautiful. Greetings, Larry. You're the best. Thanks, Allison. She's a good kid. Her mom is my favorite. Her mom is a special lady. Okay. Let's see. Bitcoin says he was coming on your show on Halloween. Saw it on your comments very late last night. Okay. So whenever Halloween is, I don't know. Tom Lusty, cocaine using jockeys are now qualified to run for. Oh boy. Larry Rolla. What the hell is that? Cocaine used by jockeys. Okay. Larry, did you say last time you will only be doing this show once a week? Yeah, because you know why? Because if more horse people came on and asked me, I'm not going to talk about mob shit no more, because there's 500 mob stations. And every time I answer a question about my past, you know, my life story, people get mad at me because how many times are you going to talk about the same thing? Well, maybe this person never, you know. So I says, you know what? And I stopped all that 3-camera bullshit, all the editing, all the racing. And I used to put, if you remember the first 20, 30 podcasts, I had races from Australia. I had the races when I win the Cane Pace and how I bet, and he was a maiden and that whole thing. It was very interesting and exciting. But then I went through all the things in my book. I said a lot of stuff. And then when people ask me about it, other people get mad. And I says, you know what? I'm not going to fight over this shit. So I says, you know what? I just changed it from anything goes. Ask me any questions. And now the reason I'm only going to do once a week is because when I says ask me any questions, I meant it. But then some people call in for questions like, tell me about the races, about who's fixing races in New York, and I don't want to talk about. I said what I did. If I was involved, I said it. If I'm not involved, just like all the jockeys in New York, I did what I did and I said what I said. I wasn't involved in anything that happened at Yonkers and Roosevelt. I wasn't involved. Do I know who was involved? Yep. Do I know who caused it? Yep. Do I know the drivers? Yep. Am I going to say it? Nope. And that's it. I wasn't involved. It wasn't my story. Okay. When a part of the entry is scratched, the remaining entry runs for the purse only. Okay. These people know what I forgot. Jesse Black, Thursday night, only the future shows. No more Tuesday night. Right. No more Tuesday night. So that's why I'm doing it. I just want one show a week because there's nobody out there that could ask me enough. I'd love to be asked questions about training, about conditioning, but sometimes they ask me questions that I can't answer. says, so I don't know what to do. So I says, well, between me working now, helping this guy out and everything, I come home, I'm dead tired, and you know, I don't know. So I just said, let me just do it once a week. And I really don't want to talk too much about my book anymore because I think they're starting to write episodes and starting to go through stuff that is many things that are not in the book. And they tell me don't give too much away. So I don't know what the hell to do. That's why I took this offer this friend of mine gave me, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It keeps my mind off of that whole stuff. Okay, how come this is doing this? Purse only doesn't matter as far as payoff. Eric, thanks, Jesse, for both your answers. Okay. Purse only doesn't matter as far as the payoffs. Oh, you're better off once a week. Yeah, you're right. Okay, we're getting near the end now. So, Jesse, we're getting near the end. Larry, last question. You will have a show election night. Probably better to have it Thursday that week. That's what I'm going to do it Thursday. I'm only going to do it on Thursday. Larry, your last question. You will have a show election night. Probably better to have it Thursday. What night is election night? I don't know, but I have the shows will be on Thursday. But so I don't know. But it'll be Thursday from now on. I was going to do it on Sundays, but my friend told me don't because of the football game and everything. But don't I have football on Thursday too? I don't know. There was a big riot at the Meadowlands in the early '80s when they scratched the good horse of the entry and the gate at 3-5, and they ran the race. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, they should have gave the money back. Good night. Get some rest. Good night, Sundance. This is the last question. The slow horse of the entry ran last. Yep, that's why they should have gave the money back. Okay, folks. For my friend, I'm sorry if I ranted. I'm sorry if I got you upset. I'm sorry if I made you mad. But now you understand my position, and hopefully we can go forward from this point on. I enjoy being down there. I enjoy working, even though it's very tough on me. And let's just try to make it work. And if it don't, it don't. I completely understand it. I understand because I have the same head as you. So, but we can still be friends. So, folks, I thank you all for watching. And now I'm going to hit the good night button, and I'll see you next Thursday. Cheerio.